Hi, welcome. Simon here. Hope you're doing well. In this video, I'll be doing a budget custom built computer just for a residential, nothing really fancy, not for gaming, mostly just for emailing, browsing the internet, doing a simple spreadsheets, Word, things like that. All right, so let's identify some of the parts here. I have the Intel i5 processor, and this is the the 12th generation. Now, if you have a K at the end, or KC, or KZ, anything start with the K, then it requires a heatsink. It doesn't have a CPU fan on it. So for this one, it's an F. It has a fan, comes with it, which is a stock, nothing really fancy heatsink. It's just a regular standard Intel fan. I'll be using a 32 gigabytes of RAM. This is a Crucial DDR4 Professional. DDR4 Pro, 1 terabyte M.2, sorry, this is not M.2, 1 terabyte 2.5 SSD hard drive, graphics card just in case if it needs to have dual monitor screen. So dual monitor screen is better off not running the onboard motherboard. Display is better off to use the graphics card. And this is a gigabit motherboard. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I like to kind of preset all my stuff before I transfer it to the desktop. So this is just the motherboard. It has some wiring for the 2.5 SATA hard drive, and this is the back cover. It doesn't have any CD, so more likely you need to download the driver off of the website. To install the CPU, first you need to remove this little bracket as well as this plastic here. So this is the Intel standard CPU fan. Alright, so to install the CPU, what you want to do is take a look at the CPU here. You do find that little triangle arrow. Hopefully you guys can see it. So this is an Intel i5, right? 12400F. And then if you look at the bottom left corner, you can see that little arrow. And that arrow is supposed to give you a guidance pointing up the same arrow here on the motherboard. So let me show it to you. If you can see that the arrow, this is the LGA 1700, and that is the arrow. So what you need to do is to rotate the CPU. That arrow right there should be matching up the arrow on the top right corner. So open up the thing. When you drop it, you can see the two little dimple right there. You want to match that bracket like such. Okay, once it's matched, you just drop it down. You install it on its own. Close it, and then push that little clipper and clip it in. Okay, at this point here, you want to get the thermal paste. Go ahead and apply some of the thermal paste here. That was the last drip. last drop of the thermal paste that I'll be using. This is a MX4. And then use a spatula. So use this spatula to go ahead and spread it evenly. You need more thermal paste than that because the spatula is going to take some of it off of the CPU, because when you spread it around it's not as much, but you want to give it a little bit more, so as you spread it then the CPU would have some of it transfer over. Okay, I think that is enough, because when we close it down, that would take care of the thermal paste. What I like to do is to reuse that little spatula here. So I'm going to wipe it clean using alcohol wipes. Alcohol wipes tend to clean this thing real good. Okay, once that is done, I'll be installing the CPU fan, the heatsink. Now to install this, what you want to do is to take a look here. That little thing would have to go into the four corners, okay? What I like to do is to hold up the motherboard and kind of press it down. You can hear that little click, and then do the same on the other side. And then here is where you want to pay attention to, making sure that it is all the way in. How do you know? Is by looking at that little bracket. So if that thing is being pushed, right? So when you push enough, that thing would expand, and that thing expand, holding it down as the pressure would hold a CPU heatsink together. So you got to make sure that is being expanded. Alright, this is the CPU fan, it says here, so go ahead and connect that. Be installing the RAM. Now if you take a look at the motherboard, it does say that A2B2 is the first. So you might want to refer to each of your own motherboard. So mine is A2B2 is the first, which is the gray slot. Open up the two little clipper, both sides of it, open it up. And when you install the RAM, you want to match that little gap that goes in between the RAM slot. There's a gap right there. So if you take a look at it carefully, that slot and the gap should match and go down like such. When you press it down, press it on both sides, and then the clipper would clip back on its own. Again, match that slot, making sure it goes in, and then when you press it, the both of the clipper would clips it on its own. Alright, just like that. Now pretty much this is it, and on the motherboard part, you install the CPU, install the fan, install 2 of the RAM. But if you have a M.2 SSD drive like this, and you can actually install it right here if you have the M.2 SSD drive. But I'll be using the 2.5 inch SATA. I will have to install this later on. Alright, so the next step I like to do is to transfer this into the desktop. Let me bring the desktop over here. And this is the power supply. So Put the power supply here on the side. And here comes the desktop. I just removed the side panel, and if you should remove the other side of the panel as well, so both of the panels should just be removed at this point. Okay, what I like to do is to remove this pre-given all the screws and whatnot. This is the screw for the motherboard, and that is the hard drive bracket for 3.5 or 2.5 SATA. Can remove this one too. Here is the power supply. I'll be using the 500 watt power supply. Nothing big, nothing fancy. Okay, so this is not a modular power supply, meaning that all the cables are attached to it. If it's a modular, it allows you to add stuff according how you want it, but this one, everything just came in attached to the power supply like that. Okay, so which is fine with me. And to install this, the bottom part here is where the power supply is, and I want the fan to face down on the facing towards the floor so that you can exhaust the heat down towards the computer. Okay, the bottom of it. So slide it here, and then all the cables will be to the back of it. Now let me go find the screw and put 4 screws to the power supply. The screw to the power supply, it should be the one that comes with the power supply that looks like this. Some zip ties. And that is the screw for power supply. Okay, there are 4 of them. pretty much there's the bottom of the it's kind of upside down, but there's the bottom, there's the leg of the desktop, and the power supply here is in the back. I know it's kind of hard for you to see, but let me just screw it in. So this desktop case, it does comes with the like a filter at the bottom of it, so if it get dusty, you can remove the filter and then clean off any of the dust is that built into the computer. So the bottom part of the desktop here is where this filter comes in handy for you to clean. Okay, so that is the leg. I know this is upside down, but there's the leg and there's the power supply. Okay, now once that is done, so all these things have to go on the other side of it, underneath, like such. And here comes the motherboard that I need to install. But before I do that, what I wanted to do is to install the I/O board here. So this thing, the bracket should go at the back of the computer. Now, the 3 auxiliary jack should be facing down right here. Okay, so facing down. And what you want to do is you want to take your time to make sure that this installed correctly, and especially when you transfer the motherboard, you want to make sure that the thing is not get caught. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that when you transfer the motherboard, let me take this one out. When you transfer the motherboard, right? So assuming that this thing is installed, when you transfer the motherboard, this thing is supposed to be sitting in like such. When it sit, oh, I need to probably take this one out. Just a second. So I'm gonna take this one out. Just go ahead and push it out like such. So what I was explaining is that when you install this, you want to make sure that the back plate, especially, you know, the line here, are not get caught into the USB, because if it does get caught, and you might short the motherboard. All right, so like this, you see this HDMI here is already touching up the other HDMI. It's supposed to be like that. Okay, just wanted to point it out to you. Take your time when you install this, especially the USB-C. The USB-C does have some power to it. So I need to remove the display port here as well. Okay, and let's go ahead and start installing it. Once I install, I always double check before I put the screws in. But what I like to do is just to put one screw or two screws holding things together. And the right screw for the motherboard is this one. I've seen a lot of people that they get too excited, they just put in any kind of screw, but these are the right screw for the motherboard. Okay, I like to come and double check again, making sure that the back plate here is not touching, like, you know, having any difficulties. Looks good. So just kind of look everything. Yep, looks good. Especially the Ethernet port goes in and goes out. Everything seems to be in the right position, so I can move forward with the next step. Alright, at this point here, pretty much you just got to connect all the power. Very straightforward. I'll remove this down, put it down. This one here is the system fan. System fan can go ahead and install right here. I have the 24 pin connector sticking out on one side, and I have the CPU sticking out on the other side. So put it down here. What I did was I pushed through this 24 pin connector. The 24 pin connector should go here, and the 4 pin CPU should go here. Alright, since the thing is all installed correctly, I want to come back and finish up some of the motherboard screws that I need to put in. Example, there's going to be one here all the way in the back. So there was one here. Now this motherboard is not a full-size motherboard, not a full-size ATX. If it's a full size, it's go all the way down to the bottom here, which allows you to screw in 3. But I should have moved these 2 closer to this side. Okay, one here and one here. But it's okay, I missed it. I'll do it later on, but I just want to continue finish installing the rest of it. Installing the graphics card. Here comes the GTX GT730. It's a low profile graphics card. What does it mean by low profile? Meaning that it doesn't require power. Like it doesn't require 6-pin power or 8-pin power. It just pretty much there's no power needed to power up the graphics card. It pulls the power from the motherboard. Okay, so this is the a pretty low-end graphics card, a low profile, but it allows you to have dual monitor running at the same time. Okay, once it's installed, okay, the rest of it pretty much is self-explanatory, meaning that you need to connect the USB port in the front. So I'll be using this one here. Connect the system fan here at the bottom. I'll tie this one up. And then I need to have all this cable coming from the bottom here to the front. So all this cable here, they needs to be connected as well. So here would be the audio. This is the USB 3.0. Here would be the power button, which is here. That is the reset button, which is here. So you want to refer to the manual, but they're pretty standard. Power light plus and minus. So power light plus and minus is going to face down. and there should be a hard drive light. I need to find that in just a second. And this one is for the motherboard, which I don't need it because it's not installed in this one. So let me transfer this to the front, which is closer, and then I'll zip cable management it together, make it nice, as well as the one here at the bottom. There should be a hard drive light. Where's the hard drive light? Maybe the case does not come with it. So pretty much this is it. And what I'll do is I will kind of make it tidy and nice, and the installation process of the hardware pretty much is all done except the hard drive. But the hard drive is very straightforward. You just need a SATA connected to that, and then and the power, and install it in a bracket. So it's very not difficult. You just have to have the right screw, mount this 2.5 inch, and you'll be good to go. So I'll stop the video here. If you have any question, comment down below, and thanks for watching. Bye now.